Hello again, everyone. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and set up bullets for the players. We're going to deal with creating prefabs, once again slicing up sprite sheets, and instantiating objects based upon events into the game. So to get started, let's go ahead and look at the sprites folder. We had, in the last video when we imported the ship, we also imported the laser bolts. If you go ahead and select the laser bolts, and for sprite mode over here in the inspector, we need to change that to multiple, and we need to change the filter mode from bilinear to point, and apply this change. Then we can go ahead and open up the sprite editor. Now for now, we just want to go ahead and get these split up, so we're going to choose slice, type, we'll do grid by cell count, and this is a 2x2 grid. 2 images across, 2 images down. Slice and apply. Now you'll notice that the actual sprite is much larger than the images, and it's also not centered. This is going to be dealt with in the next video. We can go ahead and leave this alone for now. Alright, so we have our sprite image set up. Let's go ahead now and we're going to create our bullet. So here in the hierarchy, if you right click, do 2D object, sprite, and let's go ahead and name it player bullet. Go through and in the transform position, zero out all of the positions. And then from the sprites folder down here with the laser bolts expanded so we can see all the different frames, grab the third one and drag that up here for player bullet onto the sprite renderer. And now if you were to go ahead and play your game and move the ship out of the way, you should see the bullet sitting there. Alright. Now, much like with the ship, where our bullet's going to be moving based upon physics, specifically velocity. So once again, we need to add a rigid body 2D component to the player bullet. Make sure you set the gravity scale to 0, like we do with the ship. And then we want to go ahead and add a new script to the player bullet. Now I'm going to show you a different way to do this. We previously went ahead and went to the scripts folder, right-clicked and added it right here, down in the folder window. Instead, with the player bullet selected, we're going to go to the inspector and do add component. And we're going to type in script, and we're going to choose new script. And we're going to call it bullet controller. Press enter. Now, the one downside with doing it this way is that it's going to have added it at the root assets folder. Right? So let's drag that into our scripts folder. Select our player bullet. And now let's go ahead and open up the bullet controller script. Alright. Now I said we were doing this just like the player, so we're going to need a float speed, and we're going to need a private rigid body 2D RB. Right. And then if you go ahead and save this, let's go back to Unity. Now with the player bullet selected, let's go ahead and look over here in the inspector, and it should update bullet controller to have a speed value. Let's set this to 1.25. The reason we want to do 1.25 is because our bullets should move a little bit faster than our ship, so that when we fire them, they appear to be moving away from the ship, even if the ship is moving upwards as well. Okay. Let's go back to Visual Studio. Now again, similar to player controller, where in order to access the rigid body, we need to actually get the component off of the current object. And in bullet controller, we're going to put that same code. So the rigid body property that is on our bullet controller, we need to go ahead and get the rigid body 2D that is part of the individual bullet that this script belongs to. Okay. Lastly, just like we did with player, where we used velocity to go ahead and set the direction and movement of the player, we need to do so with the bullet as well. So we can go ahead and put that in there. It's the same thing. Now, there's a couple things that need to change here actually. So first of all, we're putting this in the start method. That's because when a bullet comes into existence, it's been fired. So when it appears on the screen, it should immediately begin moving. Well, it's a bullet. So we're going to put in the start function that as soon as this bullet comes into existence, set its velocity. And what we do with that is, it's a bullet, it's moving away from the player, it's going to move up. That means we're only moving on the y-axis. So the z-axis should be set to 0. And the y-axis should be set to the speed that the bullet is set to. So your start function should look like this. Okay. If we go ahead and save this, go back to Unity, and run the game, that bullet we created should just fire off into the distance. There it goes. So that's working correctly. Now, lastly on this script, we want to add it so that when the bullet gets outside of the camera, we go ahead and destroy it. We no longer need the bullet in the game. Once it's gone ahead and gone beyond the bounds of the camera, it's outside of the game. We want it to be destroyed so it's not taking up memory, its calculations aren't being run for its position and collision. We want it gone. So if camera, okay, now word on this, camera is much like how we have input in the player controller script, where input goes ahead and gives us access to the input manager. It's just a globally accessible object. Camera gives us the ability to go ahead and access all of the in-scene cameras. And when we first set this up in the very first video, you know that every scene comes with a camera already in it. Calling camera lets us go ahead and access the cameras and some functionality regarding cameras in our scene. We go ahead and do camera.main. It's going to go ahead and look for the first enabled camera that is in our scene. Our scene only has one camera, which means camera.main will simply refer to that one camera. We're going to do world to viewport point. Now, in 3D space, just going to go back to Unity here. You guys can see here's the white border of my camera. Right here in 3D space is 0, 0, 0. Okay, both on the X, Y, and Z axis. If I were to go way out over here, it's going to be something else. Let's say 20 by 30 by 0. What we want to know is inside the camera's view, or is something in the camera's viewport. Now our camera is set to be at 0, 0 and then negative 10 for the z-axis, so it's actually above everything looking at it, or away from it. But our camera right now is set to 0, 0. If we were to move our camera 1,000 points to the left and 1,000 points up, it's going to be in a different position. But all we care about is the object that we're checking in the bounds of the screen. And that's what world to viewport point does. It takes your world position of the object you pass in and converts it to the viewport position. So it then knows. You can go ahead and say, am I inside the viewport? And the viewport points go from 0 to 1. So 0, 0, or 0x, 0y, 1, 1, xy. You are between 0 and 1, or you are not on the screen. And what we're checking is the transform dot position of the bullet. We are on the bullet script, so this right here is implying that I'd written this dot transform position. But that is a formality that you don't need. Okay? And what we specifically want to see, has the Y position exceeded 1? Have we gone ahead and flown above the Y border of the camera? And if so, we want to go ahead and destroy this game object, which ultimately is destroy ourselves. Now if we go ahead and save what we've written here, go back to Unity, we should pay attention here. You've got the player bullet sitting right here. If I go in and click play, when that bullet fires, as soon as it gets above the screen, that player bullet is going to be destroyed and disappear. There it goes, it's gone. Yep. So that's working correctly. All right. Now, let's go ahead and switch back here. We need to go ahead and make it so that this player bullet isn't just a single existence in the hierarchy. It needs to be something that we can replicate and reuse again and again. So in the assets folder down here, go to prefabs. Click and drag player bullet from the hierarchy to the prefabs folder. You'll now notice that it pops up with a little gray box showing whatever the sprite is for this object and the name. Player bullet matches. However, by dragging an object from the hierarchy into any asset folder, we've created what's called a prefab. Prefabs can be thought of as objects themselves. I mean, in terms of the code, they are objects. But think of all of these different components, including the scripts that you can go ahead and attach to them. These are objects that contain properties, and we are just formalizing, taking it from a one-off like the player and turning it into an actual blueprint that can be reused. Now if I wanted, I could go ahead and I could drag multiple instances of this prefab out there, and they'll all share the same properties, the same functionality. So once we have our prefab, we no longer need the original object that's sitting in the scene. We can go ahead and delete that now. So we've got our player bullet prefab, and we've got our player set up. Let's go ahead and save this and go back to Visual Studio. Let's go to the player controller. Now the player controller needs to be able to shoot bullets. However, it has to know what is the object that is going to represent the bullet. So we need to set up another variable. Let's call it public GameObject bullet. GameObject is a generic. It's the base class for all entities in Unity, as you see right here on the screen. So this will go ahead and allow us to store whatever game object we want to store and potentially use as the bullet that gets fired from the ship. So with this set up here, let's go ahead and save this. I want you to go back to Unity. I want you to select the player, and you're going to see that on the player controller script, it now is looking for speed and a bullet object. And right now it says none, give me a game object. Well, we happen to have a bullet game object that we created. So over on prefabs folder, click, drag, and drop, and there you go. Bullet should now be populated with player_bullet. So we have made it so that the ship can go ahead and when we say call bullet, it knows which object is our bullet, what to go ahead and create and put on screen. All right. Now, lastly, back here, we need to go ahead and create a shoot function. Okay? So when the spacebar is pressed and we try to go ahead and do something with that information now, we have fired a bullet. What do? This actually gives us the capability to fire said bullet. Let's go ahead and create an if statement. And like before, we're going to access the inputs, and we're going to look for get key down. What get key down does is check to see, has a key been pressed that previously was unpressed. So if you were to hold the keyboard or the space bar button down, for example, get key down will register the first time you went from it being unpressed to pressed, but if you hold it down, it's not going to see it. And Next, we have keycode.space. And this is saying that, hey, check to see if it was the space bar that was pressed down. Keycode is a collection object inside of Unity's code that allows you to go ahead and quickly reference any of the other keyboard commands, such as the space bar, escape, the letter A, all that. Now, once we go ahead and have that, we know that the space bar was pressed, and we've got get key down has come back true. We will go ahead and call GameObject dot instantiate. So using the base GameObject class, we want to go ahead and call its instantiate method, which is saying it's going to take in a GameObject and actually create it in your scene in Unity. Let's go ahead and take the bullet variable, where we know we have gone ahead and assigned a bullet inside of Unity. Remember, right now we're on the player controller script, so it makes sense why we need to go ahead and tell it what a bullet is. So we go ahead and instantiate a bullet, and then we go ahead and tell it, place that bullet at this position. And by saying transform, we're saying place it at this.transform. So place it at my position. All right, if you go ahead and save this, go back to Unity, run it, you should now be able to fly around and press the space bar. And however, we're not seeing anything. So let's go ahead and check our prefab real quick. Our prefab for the bullet looks fine. Open the actual prefab. That looks fine. Go back here to player. If I go back here to our code, let's check the bullet controller. Oh, I realize, I think if I click on player bullet, no, we have a speed. If I open up the prefab, we have a speed. Oh, I know what's missing. My apologies. If you go to player controller, go up to the update method, make sure you call the shoot function. Okay, so now every time update is called, it'll go ahead and call the shoot function to see, hey, are they pressing spacebar? Should we go ahead and create a bullet? Now save this, go back to Unity. It's recompiling, which is why it takes a little while. Now I should be able to fly around and press the spacebar. All right. And there you go. That allows you to go ahead and include another sprite from a sprite sheet, create another object, convert that object to a prefab, and make it so your ship can now fire bullets.